Hey everybody, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today is a little special because we have two separate guests joining us today because they collaborated on a new EP called Not Enough Sky, which they put out December 1st, so it's out everywhere on Spotify, Apple Music, and all that good stuff. Before we get the interview started, please make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. On that note, please welcome Katy Rea and Goodfight. Cool. So Katy Rea and Goodfight, thank you guys for joining me for an episode of On That Note. The first question I really need to ask you guys revolves around your newest EP, Not Enough Sky, which you collaborated on. And I read that when you went to record that, you guys live in New York and the pandemic hit and you guys said like, fuck this, we're going to New Mexico. So do y'all remember the exact moment when you guys were like, we're getting out of here?
Well, we had already gone upstate for a couple days.
Yeah.
And when we got back to the city, it was just progressively getting more and more shut down. And then it was Katie's idea originally.
Yeah, I think I had wanted to go to New Mexico. One of my mom's friends, she's an artist and she has a house out there that's always sort of empty. So I was planning on going for a long time and it just kind of seemed like the perfect opportunity. And so I asked Andrew to come. And then I think it was your idea to just bring a tape machine, and we ended up just staying out there for about 3 weeks and writing and recording. So
that's awesome. So it started out really as a way to get out. Were you thinking about making music at first, or was that kind of an afterthought?
I think we were always going to just, make some music. There was never an intention of like, all right, let's go to New Mexico and make an EP and then come back and release the EP. But we definitely we knew we were going to make some kind of music.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was going to be something that we'd release right then or... we definitely came prepared with like a tape machine and interface and a couple instruments and stuff.
Yeah, and we had never written anything together before, so it was very much, there was no, like he said, there was no intention to like make an EP and put it out and make it this big thing, which is kind of why I love it so much. It was just, it wasn't really intentional. We were just making things in the moment, and that's what came out, so.
Yeah, kind of cool that you guys have your own separate musical projects, and this kind of came out spontaneously. It seems like it wasn't like a planned, we both do music, so we should both obviously make an EP. It's like, it seems very organic that y'all did this in the way you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew had been playing guitar with me for a while, so it wasn't completely new in that we'd never played music together, but it does feel like a complete mashup of sounds between us.
Right. Mashup. Why not? That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's certainly a lot more different, a lot trippier than your previous EP, Katy. Do you guys think that, like, I guess I'm curious just how the collaboration took the kind of psychedelic turn that it did on the newest EP.
It's probably more Andrew. But I definitely have gotten... I think with that first EP, I think I was trying to make something... I mean, I'm very proud of it and I like it, but I think I've grown a lot since that EP in terms of my sound and what I want. Not that I'm like a psychedelic artist, but I'm just more open to explore, and I don't care as much about making things for what people want. And so so it's different now. The things I'm making are a lot different. And also his style is definitely very coming out a lot in what we recorded. So that's a lot of the trippiness, maybe.
It comes from just reaching, just like, I don't know what that does, let's try that, and wanting to kind of considering the production of the music as another part of the songwriting. so that trying to like create a song and then get out of that recording somehow, like get out of the world that it creates by having some sort of strange sounds and stuff.
Yeah, I was like kind of resistant to the whole psychedelic label. I think I'm rather resistant to any kind of label for whatever reason. But recently it's been like, yeah, okay, cool. I guess I'll just do, you know, psychedelic, sure. Like, let's go all the way, you know, like just to try that out, you know, and see what that's like. But it kind of works when you keep open mind throughout the whole process, because you never know, like it takes it out of the world of like, what's the right thing to do to treat this vocal, or what's the right way to record this, until like, okay, well, what happens if we like put a microphone in the kitchen and cook dinner and record it, and then put that through a delay pedal or something like that, and just have extra sounds. Yeah, I don't know. I could. It's kind of like this, like what's not music, you know? And so if you put like a bunch of sounds of like metal plates and pans and stuff under some music, like doesn't that sort of get kind of godfathered into the overall musicness of what's currently going on? So now you have like all these other noises and other places that you can just relate to from your normal everyday life, you know? I don't know.
No, I totally know what you mean. I think it makes it more unique to you guys, kind of what Katy just said, having it be work that you guys enjoy doing and not thinking about like a certain audience to make it for. Like the audience you make it for isn't going to be thinking about the pots and pans that you're hitting during the making of your dinner. But when you go back and listen to it, you'll always remember the very specific little Easter eggs that you have in there. And I think that really shines out, and people can hear that stuff. Maybe it doesn't compute the same way it would for you guys because you made it. But I think people can hear that authenticity. And definitely one of those themes on this EP is the voice memos at the end of each song that really kind of make me feel like I'm spending an evening with Katy Rea Goodfight in New Mexico, you know, like being warmed by the fire and like just talking about life. Who came up with the idea for the voice memos?
That was Katy. She, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually, I think soon after we got back, I had this idea to do a sort of artist podcast, and then it just kind of quickly went away. I got too nervous interviewing people. So but the first one I tried was with Andrew, and so those little snippets are actually out of just like a kind of a goofy voice memo interview I was doing with him. But I thought this like kind of silly things that he was saying and we were talking about reminded me of our time really getting to know each other in New Mexico. And yeah, so I wanted to sort of interweave those.
That's really cool. It kind of blends, I don't know, it just adds a nice little like storyline, even though there's not a storyline in it, you know. It feels like more than just songs, you know. It makes sense to listen to it front to back for me personally.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I think part of the reason it might come across so psychedelic also is just because we were in New Mexico, which I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's just like, it's a wildly magical, expansive place, and there's a million colors. And also, we hadn't spent that much time together, so it just felt like a very, you know, exploratory time where the world was shutting down, we didn't know what was going to happen, and there were no rules, really. So it was great.
Yeah, I've never been to New Mexico, but as I was listening to it, I felt transported there because it does seem very vast and expansive and just this huge desert. And I feel like you guys certainly captured that vibe on the record. Was this the first time that you've used a tape machine to record music?
No. I got a cassette machine maybe 3 or 4 years ago. you know, it's always kind of used somehow. I don't necessarily like print stuff onto cassettes and like do like a tape bounce, but you know, I might just use the tape machine as like as a preamp or something, and
Gotcha.
use it to record some instruments. Or it's also got the best like pitch shifting thing. You know, you could do that on the computer, but it's just when you actually record something to cassette and then you use the pitch wheel, it's just like it's the smoothest thing. I mean, it's using like, I guess it's just from the instead of it being ones and zeros and digital, it's like a physical, what is printed, like a physical wave being reproduced from this magnetic shit on this tape. Sorry, I don't know, you know. And so when you slow it down, you don't get any kind of digital artifacts or weirdness. It's like actually just, it's like the Doppler effect. When a car passes you, you hear like the pitch of the music, or if they're honking their horn as they're passing you, and it goes like, meow. Like the same exact thing is applying to a tape machine. So there's a lot of creative ways to use it other than just, you know, as what it seems, like as like a box to record something onto and, you know, press play and then get that sound from it. I think that went a lot into like making the EP too, because we would just, you know, we recorded like the first song on the EP is actually from the cassette.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
one's like actually printed from a cassette. But everything else is kind of just like interwoven throughout. And,
Yeah.
yeah, we wanted to have the songs kind of like lead into each other in this smooth, like with like a smooth kind of transition. And that's definitely where the voice memos came in handy too. They kind of became these like perfect moments to end and start the next song.
Right. Exactly. That's why I feel like it feels like a whole EP. You know, some albums or some EPs, you just want to listen to a few songs, but this is like, I wouldn't start in the middle. I'd start at the beginning and I'd go until the end. And talking about the machine, the tape machine, doing the crazy pitch stuff, one, I don't even try using pitch stuff on Logic or Ableton or anything like that. I just don't feel like it sounds very good. So now I kind of want to buy a tape machine just to be able to do that.
If there's one thing to get a tape machine for, that would be it, honestly. Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. I never even thought about that.
What I like about a tape machine, even if it's just like a crummy one, which is what I had, is that like every tape machine is very different. So all the like plugins or whatever you use to mess with things, they're all going to be the same, and like a tape machine is going to have your sort of original print on it.
Absolutely.
But we used Pro Tools and stuff mixing, but it was just fun to work with a tape machine, I think.
Did you use the tape machine on the part where there's this part in Why Tony going into the first chorus where, I don't know, I feel like I'm being sucked into an alien spaceship. It's like,
Yeah.
do you know what
That
I'm
was a
talking
plug-in.
about?
Yeah, that wasn't the tape machine. That was like, that was
a really crazy plugin. What was that?
There's this company called Freak Show Industries that I love their shit. It's just like you use their plugins to just destroy your music. I mean, it's just like literally it's the most disrespectful sounding like effects ever. You just put them on and it mangles your stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's this one called Mishby that I love.
Yeah, Mishby.
And it just basically does, if you play around with it, you'd hear some of those sounds probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were just messing around, and then we accidentally made that sound and we kept it. So.
Yeah, it's hard to know when stuff is done. And I think, you know, once the songs were recorded and somewhat mixed, there's like still these moments where we're like, oh yeah, we should have some sort of crazy, we should have a moment here, a moment there, you know, like some kind of a transition or something. And 9 times out of 10, I feel like that involves just taking something that currently works and then almost like making it work less, you know, or like screwing it up in some way that it sort of,
Yeah.
kind of lets this contrast happen.
Yeah, that moment in particular I love because it's like 2 beats after you think the chorus should start, and then that like it's like being teleported literally. I don't know what is going on, but it's so cool. I love that you took something so strange sounding and to me made it like a hook, like made it one of the catchier parts of the song. Do you have any people who are great with sound design that you look up to when it comes to producing?
Yeah, definitely. Let's see, I mean, in terms of the weird stuff, I feel like a lot of the weird, trippy stuff actually comes from, I mean, I'm really inspired by, like, Quasimodo and Earl Sweatshirt, and I think actually a lot of, like, hip-hop people have very trippy, amazing production, these, like, interlude-y kind of moments that I get very inspired by. And I've been thinking about it, too, because I've been more and more kind of preoccupied with the idea that, like, albums could be kind of like movies in a way. And I think if you pay attention to the music that happens in movies, there's a lot of just sounds that set up visual information, or the ways that they will, like, change scenes and the kinds of music that happen, you know, in those moments compared to, like, what happens in, like, the meat of, like, an action scene or something like that. I don't know, I'm very inspired by all of that stuff. I don't have specific names of people that I see that are doing that I'm like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like, what, it's like Hans Zimmer or something? But I don't even really necessarily love... Hans Zimmer is cool in a way, but all of his stuff it's very remarkable in how all of his movies kind of... You can almost tell immediately it was Hans Zimmer scoring it. But I love people like Alex Toomey and Mike Dean, of course.
They're like really... I'll have to check it out.
So yeah, they're both crazy mixing engineers, and they both have this way of using a ton of, like, saturation and just distortion, but they produce some extremely clean sounding music. You know, of course they also have, like, really hard hitting dirty stuff, yeah, there's, like, all sorts of little bits and pieces that that you get from people, and sometimes it's like comparing it to things that you just haven't heard before. Like, sometimes like, how far can I get this away from what is, I don't know, like, expected of this moment to be, you know? Like, how could I literally feel like I'm getting outside of the song, you know, outside of the computer, in a way to kind of troll whoever's listening to it, you know? To, like, set up an expectation and then completely just, like, subvert it.
Wow. It's a very interesting way of looking at it.
It's an interesting pairing because I've always been kind of the opposite. I'm very, like, focused on just the meat and veggies of a song, and, like, the voice and the hook, and it being just a good song, whether it's recorded on, like, just your iPhone or in this crazy studio. But so sometimes I get very just, like, scared to experiment because I don't want to mess with what is there. And so this was, like, a great project for me, and to, like, learn a lot from him, and that he's just so willing to try anything, and then, like, your song is still going to be there if it's a good song. And yeah, it's been really nice to have another perspective.
Absolutely. It's certainly a balancing act, because if you favor too much experimentation, or you favor too much traditional songwriting and you don't want to change anything about what you have, you're only going to stay in that box. And I think the best way to make something that is authentic and unique is to be open-minded, but also be able to know when you still have that spark of the original idea and you haven't changed something too much about it. And you guys seem to really have found a knack with that collaboration. I mean, you know, definitely you guys have brought a lot of experimentation into this new EP that really feels like if you stripped it down, it would still be just as good because the songs are just as good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Of course. Gonna... Sorry, what'd you say?
Oh no, it was just fun to work on. I think because we had no like real plans from the beginning of what this would, you know, turn out to be. So there was no point when we were making it where we were like, oh, we can't really do this because this goes against what we were planning to do. You know,
yeah.
Like everything was just open to, you know, I don't know, we were just open to trying whatever we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. You gotta have an open mind. Well, that's going to take us over to the last 5. I'm just going to ask you 5 quick questions, and then we'll be out of here.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Number 1 is in the studio or playing live?
Studio.
Studio right now, yep.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting asking that because some people are like, why would you even ask that? Of course, live. I'm dying to go play live. And then some people are like, low key, this has been nice to be able to just stick to my studio and not feel like I have to go tour.
Yeah, it feels like the studio is more of a process, and obviously live is a presentation. And so I've always favored studio a little bit more, but definitely now. So
It's a nice
Yeah.
break. It's a
Yeah.
nice break.
Absolutely. It's nice to be able to go into the studio and maybe not know if you're going to create something completely new that you're going to end up falling in love with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, it's less pressure.
And I think
Yeah.
it's taken me up until kind of recently to think of it as a nice break instead of, a terrible thing that was like forcefully taken away from all musicians. But yeah, it's like every this is affecting everybody, COVID's impact on live performance. And so, being that there isn't much we can do about it, having this opportunity to really focus on the studio and production side of things is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's kind of put everyone back at zero, which has been interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 2 is, what do you think is a perfect album front to back?
Oh, I was just thinking about that.
Judy Sill's Heart Food.
Judy Sills. I read in your bio that you really love her. I haven't gone and listened to her, but I'll have to go check it out. What's the album called?
Heart Food.
Heart Food.
I can't get, I don't know the year. Gosh, it's early 70s, but yeah, I have it on my wall right now. Yeah, no, I just think her lyrics are so special and magical. She's like an angel. You just have to listen to her.
Will do. It's on the list.
I'm going to say Ellis and Tom by Ellis Regina and Tom Jobim.
That's a good one.
Huh. Don't know that one either. When did that come out?
Sometime in the 70s. I want to say 76.
Do you guys listen to a lot of older music?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm definitely stuck in that. I do listen to some new stuff. I think that, like, Laura Marling's album that came out this year,
Yeah, that was a really good one.
oh, it's just so special. I think, but I grew up listening to older stuff too, and it's not that I don't like newer stuff. I'm just maybe in a bad habit of, like, putting on records. I can't get out of it.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
Cool. Well, a couple great answers there. I'll have to go check out both of those. Number 3 is, who is your dream artist or producer to work with?
I just said Laura Mar. I don't know. I think she produces her own stuff, but, she's more of a songwriter, I guess. She also writes for theater, which I've always loved. So I in some way I would love to work. That would be kind of untouchable, but.
Do something for theater, a musical?
Yeah, and I've done that in the past, but there's something about Laura Marling and, like, the scale in which she does things that...
Mm-hmm. Good choice. What about you, Andrew?
I don't know. There's so many people. Off the top of my head, I'd probably say Thundercat. I don't know.
Oh,
I couldn't
very
imagine.
nice. You can also say multiple. I'm not strict here.
Thundercat for sure. I mean, Kanye West would be so cool just to, like, be a part of the team that, is, like, brainstorming or coming up with the music.
Absolutely.
Honestly, like, there's a lot of people that we know that I'd like to work with that
That's
aren't,
true,
like,
too.
too far off. Just sort of people that I'm really inspired by. Like, I mean, I don't know if there's a guy named Phil Weinrobe, but we, like, work out of his studio, and I think he's super inspiring. He just did Adrian Linker's record, and his music is really amazing.
Cool.
people like that. I worked with this guy, Nate Mendelsohn, that I want to keep working with.
Nice. Nate Mendelsohn, shout out. And who's the other guy? Phil, what was his name?
Phil Weinrobe.
Phil Weinrobe. A previous On That Note guest, Ursay, said that he was really loving the new Adrian Lenker album. So
Oh, yeah, it's
like,
amazing.
I checked it out after we talked about it. I was like, dude, okay, this shit's really good. I don't listen to as much singer-songwriter stuff like on the daily, but I really appreciated what that album was. And it's cool that, you know, you work with that guy.
Yeah, Phil is great. He writes about the process of making that album somewhere. It was really interesting. It's very minimal, I think. Yeah, I don't want to speak for him or them, but yeah, it was a cool process, like everything to tape and
Yeah, you can learn a lot by just listening to that record.
a lot of like background noises and stuff.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now I want to go listen to it again. I had thought of a few people that I thought would be really cool if you guys worked with them. I don't know if you know them, but Spirit of the Beehive, they're a band. Do you know them? Dude, they're
I do a little bit, yeah.
One of my favorite like underground bands right now, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah. Yeah.
Are they making it? Did they put anything new out?
Well, they put out an album either 1 year or 2 years ago that was awesome.
Yeah, I think I've heard
called
that. Yeah.
Hypnic Jerks. But I love Zach Schwartz, who's like the front man, and he has his own project called Drag Me with 2 A's. And if you really want to listen to some crazy stuff, I would check out his album that he put out last year. I forgot what it was called, but I'll remember it as soon as we're done with the interview, I'm sure. But it's so sick. I definitely recommend that song or that album. And I thought Mitski, that would be really cool.
Oh, Mitski's sweet also, yeah.
Yeah. I've always liked her stuff.
Well, question number 4 is what's on your musical rotation right now?
John Coltrane, Live at Newport. There's this, what's that song called? I can't think of it. There's this artist, Joao Bosco. Man, I feel like I listen to like 2 things. It's like Coltrane bootlegs, some like live bootlegs or some live record, or this artist, Joao, I'm gonna butcher how to pronounce it, but it's like Joao Bosco. Joao Bosco, and there's this album that I'm also gonna butcher the pronunciation of called like Comisao de Frente or something. Yeah, you gotta check this album out. I'm like kind of constantly listening to it. I should have said that instead of Tom and Ellis, to be honest. But yeah, you know, there's that stuff. Let's see, what was I listening to recently?
We're looking at our Spotify right now.
Yeah,
It's okay. Every time I ask someone, it's like almost guaranteed. They're like, I have to look it up on Spotify, otherwise I don't know.
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of Bridget St. John. She was like another, 70s songwriter. She still plays, well, not right now, but she still plays, and she has this, gosh, what is the album called? Maybe Fly High. But her stuff is really great. Catherine Howe. Minnie Riperton. Been listening to a lot of Minnie Riperton.
yeah. Oh, to be honest, I think I've been listening to way more podcasts than music. Just from, like wanting to get a break from music almost. Seems like podcasts really scratch the other side of my brain. Like, I love Ari Shafir's Skeptic Tank.
He's a funny guy. I didn't know he had his own podcast.
He's got his own
Yeah, I like
podcast.
him too.
He's definitely a lot of trouble, I think. Tim Dillon. There's a bunch of them that I really like. But yeah, I don't know. I think in the last year or 2, I've just been listening to almost more podcasts than music. And then, of course, working on a ton of music. But yeah.
It's kind of nice to take a break from listening to music, like
Yeah.
having done. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna ask if you knew this band, Infinite Basu.
Yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I have a few friends that really hardcore tell me to listen to them, and I've given them a shot here and there, but I feel like maybe I haven't given them a fair shot. Like I should listen to a whole album.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I've listened to a full record. There's this one song I love that I saw at the end of this movie, and then I looked it up. I'm kind of obsessed with it. It's called The Past Tense, The Past Tense.
Okay. I'll
It's
listen
very
to that
simple.
one.
Yeah, it's cool.
I haven't heard that.
It's kind of I don't know, it's sort of a perfect little song.
Do you guys, I was talking with my friend about the XX. How do you guys feel about that first album?
I don't know the XX.
Oh, really?
I mean, I've heard of them.
No, I haven't checked it out.
Okay, well, there you go. There's something to do some homework.
Yeah, I'm honestly, like I said, I'm bad at listening to new stuff. But I will check them out.
I would be shocked if you hadn't heard the intro to it. It's just called Intro. It's probably been in every like underground film in the late 2000s that you've ever seen. Like, it's a classic. But yeah, definitely check that out. It's very, very minimal pop music. Like, it's amazing what they were able to do with how little is going on in the entire record.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
There you go. So there's a recommendation for you. And the last question before we get out of here is, what is your favorite song from each other's discography?
Aww.
Ooh.
The two reactions there were perfect.
I love Brain on Snacks.
Oh my God, I hate that
I do
song
too.
now.
That was my favorite, and probably the greatest name on that EP.
Thank you. Yeah, that's funny. I don't believe you for some reason.
I don't know I would. It's definitely a song that's on the new record. It would be a song that's on the new record. But songs that are out right now.
Yeah. I like a lot of, songs that are out. Gosh, he has a new album that he's almost finished with that has, I just love all the songs on it. I think it's amazing. Before I really knew Andrew, I just kind of knew him. I listened to Bird on a Mountaintop, all the time.
Great song. Absolutely.
Great song.
That whole EP is fucking sick, dude. Lucy was probably my favorite. When I first heard that, I was like, damn, there's something with this song that's just magical.
Thanks. That was fun. We were all in the same room. That was we did that record live. And I don't think we've done a record live since then. Bits and pieces of it. But yeah, there was definitely something unique about that whole session. Everything was new.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, right on. Katy Rea and Goodfight, thank you guys for joining me on an episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Everybody needs to go check out your newest EP, Not Enough Sky, which you recorded in New Mexico during the pandemic. I think that's so cool. And yeah, thank you again for coming on and talking with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
This
Of
is
course,
nice.
yeah. I'll talk to you guys later.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
All
to
right.
meet you. I'll see you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.